let's bring on Tory, and we'll introduce her and start talking about the haunted Sleeper Mortuary.
All right, there she is. Hi, Tory.
Hi, how are you?
We are well. Thank you so much for joining us. You are calling in
me.
all the way from Kansas to chat with us. So the very
cold
world.
Yes, we're recording this early in January, and there's a lot of snow on the ground.
Well, where I work in northern Kansas, yes, we got 18 inches. And then back home in southeast Kansas, we have none.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah,
but I'm sure it's plenty cold.
Yes. Yeah, it was on my way home, it was like -2, I want to say.
Okay, and we were upset about 43 today. But for us, in our defense, in Florida, that's really darn cold. So
I will agree. I will agree.
Yeah, it's been a weird start to the year, but it's a good break from the heat and humidity. And hello, Sally. Thank you for tuning in as well. And Tory, I'm so grateful to you for taking time to talk with us. Of course, you and I chatted for the premiere episode of season 6 of Phantom History, where we talked about the Sleeper Mortuary and a little bit about it. But for those of those who may not have listened to the podcast yet, tell us a little bit about yourself and what is the Sleeper Mortuary?
Well, I've been involved in the paranormal for about 20 years, right around, give or take. I've been investigating probably 6 years or so. I have 8 published books. I run around scary buildings all night with my friends, and I find it fun and entertaining. But this, to me, logically was the next step for me. For me, this is something that's been on my radar for a long time. Not this particular building, but the ownership aspect of it. I've been looking for buildings for years, and then I actually just happened to come across this one. It was by accident that I found it, and I'm very, very grateful. And I can't remember what else you asked me.
That was great.
Yeah, and I want also to point out, just to kind of clarify that you were looking for a building that was haunted in order to open it up for paranormal investigations.
Yes,
right?
yes. Yep. My realtor is she also owns a venue, the McIntyre Villa in Atchison. And she happens to be a realtor too, and one of my very best friends. You got the opportunity to talk to her. She's amazing.
I did. We're going to do an upcoming episode on her location.
Oh, cool.
So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, it honestly, it just, I don't know. I call it like universal fate. Stephanie came into my life several years ago. I would say probably about 3, maybe. She's probably in the chat somewhere. But probably around 3 years-ish ago. And we just clicked. And I don't know. It's like the evolution of like all of this and like the perfect people coming into your path at the perfect time, and the evolution of it, honestly, to me is beautiful. And I'm definitely one of those people that think everything happens for a reason. And she ends up getting her realtor license, and I'm like, Steph.
I have an idea.
So, and it worked out because, like, I live what we call the Bible Belt. So ghosty stuff isn't really, I wouldn't say it's not accepted, but it's definitely not talked about very much. You know what I mean? Like, not a lot of people believe, like, you go to like the East Coast, for example, when you're in like New York and Pennsylvania and all of those places that have like all those historic homes and buildings and all of that, like you can find a lot of venues over there. Big ones too, like Trans Allegheny. You got Pennhurst. You have Rolling Hills Asylum. The Conjuring House. Like all of these things on the East Coast, and we don't really have a whole lot like in this swath of the Midwest.
Right.
So to call just like your average realtor and say, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for. Can I bring some gadgets and gizmos and investigate it first?" They would look at you like you're insane. Like, and I and I don't blame them. I might too. If I didn't do what I
part
do.
of the real estate hunting experiences.
Yeah, I think people might say I don't want a haunted home.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Although maybe if you're looking in New Orleans, you might.
Well, true.
You might want. But
yeah.
Either way, I think it's really. I love what you said, Tory, about the right people showing up at the right time. I do think the universe has a way of doing that. That has happened for us the last 2 years with the bed and breakfast experience. Over and over and over, the right people keep showing up. And we find that is really encouraging. And I do think that that's the universe saying, go for it. Yes, go.
Yeah. And it just feels right. It just feels right. You know, don't get me wrong. There's anxiety attached to it, a lot of it. But I think a lot of that is just like my own personal fears. And I'm trying not to let those fears be a setback. So,
well, there's something about going into the unknown that's unsettling, and you're kind of entering new territory. But I love that you wanted to find a haunted building to create this experience for people to investigate, and what you found happens to be an old mortuary.
yes.
How perfect is that?
Yeah.
Cool.
So the way I even found it was I was just kind of looking at properties online, and I came across this building, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks very similar to a funeral home that we have locally, like where I live. And I was like, I wonder. And then like I saw the bench and like the little potted urns, and I'm like, man, I don't know. That's like, so me being a researcher, because that's what my books are, is just research. I looked up the address, and lo and behold, it was a funeral home. And I called Stephanie, and I'm like, girl, like, we got to get in there. So we made an appointment to see it. And it was kind of, I don't know, like the evolution of the building. So I actually looked at this building back in June of 2024 after I got back from vacation. I was trying to squeeze it in before vacation, but that didn't happen. I was kind of disappointed, but we went to vacation, came back, we booked an appointment to go see it. And that is when I heard, I believe it was that time, because we've looked at it twice. I believe it was that time. We heard a disembodied, I call it a scream whisper, where it just, we were all standing there. It was me and Steph, and then my youngest, and the seller's realtor that was there. And sorry about the paper, Franklin. She's getting cookies out of a bag.
We can't hear it.
Okay. But anyway, we were all standing there, and we heard the scream whisper, and I looked at my youngest, and she's looking at me with like these big doe eyes. She's like, because she heard it. And I looked at Stephanie, and Stephanie's looking at me, and we all look at the realtor, and he's looking behind him. He's like, I don't know who that would be because we're the only ones here. And I'm like, yes, bring it on, right? So he goes, I believe he walks around the corner, and he's like looking, and he comes back. He's like, I don't know, maybe it was a cat or something. I have no idea what that was. And none of us said a word. Not a single one of us said a word. We just kind of locked it away, and we're like, okay.
Do you mind if we back up to this scream whisper for a second?
Yes.
Because you sort of said that in passing, and then I was like, because I know I had heard that part of the podcast. So can you demonstrate, like lean in a little bit or whatever, and can you tell me kind of what that sounded like? Oh, that's really good.
It basically is. It sounded like somebody yelling, but in a whisper tone. Like there was no timbre to the voice. It was just like whispering, but on a very extreme level. Like this is weird. I'm like,
Well, you don't have to lean in. So go ahead. What did they say?
there was no discernible words for me. Now, Stephanie thought she heard it say hello, but I think like where the sound was coming from, it sounded closer to them than it was to me and my youngest. So all I heard was, that's all I heard. There was no words, or at least not that I could tell. And then I think she thought she heard hello, because we were just actually talking about that today. We were talking about how like wild that was. But yeah, that was on my first my first trip to the building to look at it.
Do you think that building was letting you know that it was haunted because it knew. I mean, all these things lined up for you to be there. I
Yeah.
found that very interesting.
Yeah, like I think so. I think so because I mean, I can tell you out of all of the buildings that we looked at, that was the only time that has ever happened. Now, I will say for those of you that are in the market for just buying a home to live in, there are ghosts everywhere. Like they're
That's true.
everywhere. Like and I would say probably 80% of the homes that we toured, we got EVPs, we got equipment to go off more often than not. And it was just really a matter of trying to figure out which one was right for me. And nothing ever felt right. You know what I mean? Like I would go in it, and I'm like, well, I don't know. Like I know that there are spirits here based off of the interactions that we had, but
Mhm.
I just don't know if this is the right one. And like to me, when there's a question as to whether or not it's the right one, it's probably not the right one. And I would sit there and I would stew. I fell in love with the mortuary the minute I walked into the door, and I knew that I had to have it. Now, I did get discouraged. I
Right.
did.
Sure.
But,
Can
you
you
know, I
describe what
went,
it was about it that felt like this is right?
I can't. That's the thing. It's just in my soul. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just feels right. It just feels right. It's like that all-knowing feeling like when you love someone or when um when you're doing math and you think what's 1 plus 1 and you know the answer is 2 and it just feels right and it's just an all-knowing feeling. It just feels right.
It just
I,
is.
I
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. No, that's cool. Hey, but everybody, if you're watching, please type in any questions you have for Tori about this really interesting haunted mortuary. I want to ask you. To me, it might be significant, or perhaps I think it might. I think it might be significant that this screen whisper said
Mhm.
hello, which is kind
Mhm.
of friendly, right? It didn't
Mhm.
say get out or you remember to wear combat boots or like what something weird, like it just I don't know, but like
I
it
love
was
it.
like hi, and I think that's kind of to me
Yeah.
that would be like wasn't that nice? Kind of
I would say so. Like I didn't hear that part of it, but also and I'm sure that like what you guys experience in your own home, it's like depending on where you're at, like other people may hear other things. Like you may not
Yeah.
hear what the person next to you heard. It's all different. But yes, I would think that it was kind. I would hope. I mean, I don't really know yet. And that's kind of the fun. That's the fun in it,
That's
is
what I
trying to figure
love.
out who they are.
No, no, exactly. I was gonna say that's what I love about this is that we met you at such an interesting time because you are
Yeah.
just now starting the beginning of this journey to this discovery phase of what is going to be inside the sleeper mortuary. And before we get to some questions that are coming in, tell us, and this is in the podcast too, but tell us why is it the sleeper mortuary? And because you and I talked about what a great name that is for this place.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people think it's a play on words, as like sleeper and dead body, but no, it's an epic surname. The Sleeper Mortuary was started by Lyman Sleeper in 1886. The original building was built next door to my building, so it burnt down in fire in 1915, and then my building was built right next door to replace it. It was a family business, and back in the day they used to have furniture stores attached to it, so there's ads about sleeper furniture and undertaking services. And just by speculation, I don't know this for sure, but I speculate that they made their own caskets probably back then. It was ran by Lyman Sleeper, and his son came into business with him whenever he was old enough to do so. And I would have to fact check my history because I haven't recited it long enough to just pull it from memory. But I want to say it was like the early 1900s, probably, that his son Alan, or A.R. Sleeper, as he's referred to in some newspapers, came in and he was helping his father. Now, Alan's son, John, also became part of the family business. Lyman Sleeper died in 1915, the year that his original building burnt down. And then I can't remember when AR passed away. John passed away, I want to say it was 1960. In a car accident, actually. He was on his way home from transporting a body to Kansas City in the hearse, and he fell asleep at the wheel and he rolled his hearse and he passed away in that accident. That is when Sleeper Mortuary changed from Sleeper Mortuary to Porter Kinzer, because Porter Kinzer bought the mortuary from the Sleeper estate. And then I do have like a history portion on my webpage that goes through all of that. This is basically what I can remember. Some
And that
notable
page is
things.
like really detailed. I mean, you did a really good job with finding all
Thank
that
you.
information. It was super
Thank
helpful
you.
whenever I talked to you before and then putting the podcast together. And hello, by the way, Sally and Stephanie and Lauren. Thank you all for tuning
Yeah,
in.
thanks for watching.
And,
Keep typing in those questions, everybody.
and Susan, good to see you too. So that wanted to, one of the things I really enjoyed about our initial conversation was that you studied the history to try to figure out what you were getting yourself into. Because of course, we always joke, if you're going to haunt us, we want to know who you are.
Right.
Which leads me to a question that Lauren has, and I think I know the answer to this, but just because I feel like I cheated by talking to you earlier, have you gotten any specific information about the spirits there through any investigations yet?
I have not yet. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, I am closing on this mortuary and it will officially be mine. And that is when the real fun begins. I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm ready. And that is when the true research begins as to who I have there. Now, when you're going into like a big project, if you want to call it a project, whatever you want to call it, whenever you're going into something big and you're making big life decisions, I have like always been afraid that I'm like, what if I buy this building and there's no ghost in it? Like that is not going to work out very well. But also, I know there's ghost in it. I know there is because I heard it. And the previous owner did talk about a shadow person that he sees on the second floor, and he saw it quite a lot. Humanoid figure as just a shadow person. So I'm very excited to try to catch that. Some of the things I'm going to be doing is setting up live streams on YouTube when nobody's in the building and let them run overnight and see if we catch anything. Just to see. One of my first spots is probably going to be the hallway where the shadow person is seen. But we also have the embalming room. The embalming room is still intact. It's a very small embalming room, but it is intact nonetheless. So
Yeah, you can
I
officially
think,
visit.
Yeah, that'll happen.
come on.
No, but I think this is really cool. So, I mean, one of the things people love to hear about what people have found out in their paranormal investigations, right? And so I think this is very cool. Like we're having this first conversation with Tory on the night that you're about to embark on
Yep,
this thing for real. So I think it's going to be exciting. If you're willing, have you come back sometime and share some of
absolutely.
those things from the investigations. And that's really interesting. And I'm assuming that people from the public who are investigators can come and do investigations
Mhm.
there. That's part of the
Yep,
plan.
it's open for booking. They can go to my website, sleepermortuary.weebly.com, and my calendar is online. And yeah, they can book their overnight. And our first overnight group is on Sunday, the 12th.
Wow.
They're traveling from Colorado and Kansas and Oklahoma. So I think there's 3 or 4 teams that are coming in and doing an investigation. And when I tell you, I'm so excited, and I know they're going to be live, and I'm going to be watching that live from home. Like I'm going to be lurking like that.
Well,
um,
yeah, somebody's going to be in the space you just secured for yourself and then
Made
check it.
available for the first time. How exciting.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
and are you focusing on like paranormal teams, individuals, all the above? Does it matter to you?
Anybody can rent it.
Okay.
I mean, if you're just curious and you just want to see what it's all about, you can do that. I mean, if you're a hardcore investigator with an itinerary, you can do that. If you just want to get together with your friends and have a spooky, fun night, you can do that. You can rent it by yourself or with however many people you want. You can also book events there. You can hold your own event. You can sell tickets and come up with an event scheme that you like and rent the
Mhm.
building and sell tickets to it too.
Wow.
Well, that's an event space with a paranormal twist that you can do really what
Uh-huh.
within reason what you want to do there. And I also want, you talked about, the embalming room's still there. You and I talked
Mhm.
on the Phantom History podcast. You talked about how, the original viewing room is still there, and upstairs is kind of like living quarters. So
Mhm.
um, if you do spend the night there, you can like take a nap, if you needed
Mhm.
to, right?
Oh
Because you
yeah.
have that space available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole upstairs is like a home. It's like a regular house. You can go up there. Um, the only kicker to the whole thing is that the city code of Iola does not allow anybody to sleep on the first floor, which is the funeral home portion. And that's because it's zoned as a commercial space on the first floor because it's within a couple of blocks of the city square. So
Uh,
their code prohibits people sleeping down there, so they have to sleep upstairs. But I mean, that's the caveat, I guess. But yeah, they get the whole building all night long.
Yeah. So
yeah.
most people like they're not going to sleep while they're doing the
Yeah,
investigation,
that's my
right? And
thought
then when
too.
it's finally over, then they can go up and okay. So
Yeah.
I've been holding on to this, and I probably shouldn't say it, but
Oh, you totally
I
should.
was really
Say it.
hoping that is it Lyman Sleeper or A.R.
Uh-huh.
Sleeper or John Sleeper? There's not a son named Seeley.
Sealy.
Okay, never mind.
Like the
I don't think
mattress?
so.
Yes, I'm just trying to make it. Okay, never mind. And forget that I said that.
Oh,
I do have this question for you. I'm sorry, that was so
His
bad.
name is
no.
It was so
Posture.
No,
bad.
I
Hey, I
love it.
haven't brought up
I
the
was like,
Nordic alien
Sealy, I
bit
don't think
tonight,
so.
so I'm good.
And there it is.
Okay, it's not coming up. So here's my question though, Tori. You said in passing, I think you said there was a certain point, maybe 20 years ago, where you first got interested in the paranormal. I don't
Mhm.
remember what the time frame was. Is that about right?
Well, I've
I can't
been
remember what you
dabbling
said.
in the paranormal for about
No, it
20 years,
doesn't.
but
But my question for you is, what was it that made you decide to get interested in this stuff? Like, I always think that's interesting to hear that from people. Did you see a certain movie? Did you meet someone? Like, how did that happen for you?
I grew up in a haunted house. That's
There it is.
that's it.
Can you
That's
tell us a
it.
little bit about that?
Yeah, I saw my first ghost probably around 5 years old. I grew up in a haunted house. Nobody else in my family had experienced anything in there, or at least not that they said. I will say, like, my father does not believe in ghosts, but he is very supportive of every single thing I do, and he will be the first one to show up and to support me. And like he's came to my book signings and things like that. So it's not that he's not supportive. He just does not really believe in ghosts, and that's okay. But I saw my first shadow figure in that home, and it was very large. You're talking about like 13-year-old me walking, and I saw it, and I saw it in passing because I was walking to the bathroom, and when I was coming down the hallway, there's like a great room that was off to my left, and I was coming through this room and hooking a right to go into the bathroom. And it looked like somebody took the a cookie cutter in the shape of a human and just stamped it out of the landscape. It was as black as your shirts. You
Wow.
couldn't see through it. To me, it looked like it was 12 foot tall, but I was also 14, and I'm only 5 foot now, so you can only imagine what I was back then. So, um, I will say it never hurt me. It never it, I never experienced, I didn't even really feel anything negative from it. I will say that to me, when men kind of get like when they're angry with each other and they kind of puff up or whatever and their arms go out and they're angry or what, I mean, to me, it had that kind of stance to it. So I took that as like a threatening body language. And I went ahead and went into the bathroom because I didn't know what else to do. Like I just pretended like I didn't see it. And then I peeked back around after I got into the bathroom. I peeked back around the door and it was gone. Um, I remember distinctly one time sitting in my bedroom, and my bedroom was outside of the carport. And I heard my mom's car pull up. I heard the door open and shut to her car, footsteps walking into the front door, and I heard her say my name. She hollered my name, and I said what, and I didn't get a response. And I'm like, what the heck? And I yelled what a few more times. I didn't hear it, and then I looked out the window to the carport to see if she had left again or whatever. But I never heard her leave, and there was no car there. Um, So yeah,
So,
Okay,
this is
interesting
just a
stuff.
few.
so
Yeah.
interested from a very young age, which is so cool you get to do this now. And
Mhm.
I want to get to some of the questions we have that have kind of
Yeah.
questions and comments that are coming in based on our conversation here. And thanks again, everybody, for tuning in and watching. And still drop those questions in the chat for us. A lot of people are saying, they're excited to come see the place. They want to come book it. And to answer Kristen's question, she said she stepped away for a moment, but she said, after the investigation, what are your plans with the mortuary? And I think she doesn't get that this is an ongoing, constant
hmm
investigation by different groups, right?
Yeah.
So the bottom line is that it's a great, really cool, interesting place to come do a paranormal investigation for
hmm
anybody that's interested. Yeah.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
an ongoing attraction, which
I don't know about spending the night in a mortuary.
oh yeah, I totally
It'll
would.
be fine.
I think what's interesting about this, Tory, is that like it adds another level to the thing. Like, okay, you go into a creepy old house, that's one thing, but like going into a creepy old, probably haunted mortuary, that just
Well,
it seems like another level, which I think is good for you. But I
well,
mean,
and
I don't know about
and
me.
that's my question for you, Tori. Is you're inviting all these people to come and spend the night and check it out. Do you plan to spend the night there some night and do
Oh,
your own investigation,
absolutely.
like
Is Tori
tomorrow?
gonna live there? No. But is Tori gonna stay the night there? Yes. And tomorrow, yes, tomorrow night I will be there and I will be
Okay.
live. It's gonna be so much fun.
Awesome.
In fact,
Yeah.
I'm going live tomorrow at 11:30 on TikTok. And everybody's going to walk through the doors with me for the first time, or whoever's on the live anyway.
And where do
So
we find you on TikTok? What do I look for?
you can look under Haunted Sleeper Mortuary. That is the page that I will go live under. But I also have another page. It's paranormal underscore Tory, and that's just my personal account. So, but I will be going live from Haunted Sleeper Mortuary on TikTok. And I will be going live throughout the evening. Me and some of my best girls that I usually do investigations with, Stephanie being one of those. My bestie from North Dakota is traveling down. She's driving 13 hours to be here
Wow.
on Thursday, and she is so excited. And then my friend Melissa, who, I mean, she lives fairly close. She lives in Kansas City. So it'll be us four that night. And it's just kind of like celebratory bestie time. You know what I mean? It's just a big milestone and a big event. And we're just there for each other and we support one another. And they know this is a big deal for me. And they are coming to support me. And we're going to see if we can find some ghosts.
Well, I'm
But
very
I will be
excited for
live.
you. And I like Steve said, I feel like it's so special for you to share this with us tonight because this is all launching and happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I love that you're going to be there tomorrow night with your best friends and like celebrating and having the first time in
Yeah.
this creepy place. I think it's great.
And
I'm
it's
so
so
excited.
interesting because there's such a sense of community in the paranormal world that we've discovered since launching this and
Yeah,
the
no
podcast
doubt.
and everything else.
Yeah.
And you've already like have a foot into that world, and I just think it's going to explode for you as more people come to see this amazing location that you found right there. What would you say it's like an hour from where you live?
Yes, it's about an hour and 15 minutes from where I live. So not
Okay.
bad.
And what's the city where it's located?
It's in Iola, Kansas.
All
Little
right.
teeny
Which
tiny
is
town of about 3,000 people.
I say it's very tiny, and it's about 100 miles southwest of Kansas City.
Hmm.
When I looked at the little map thing, I did like a whole little like
Yeah.
where is this place? Which I've not been to before, and and it looks like that you're already pulling a lot of people from surrounding areas already who want to make those
Yeah.
long drives in order to come check this place out. What has been the reaction, or has there been a reaction yet? Because again, I know it's still early, from the town itself, or what kind of a reaction are you expecting from the town itself?
I'm not sure. I'm not
Okay.
sure. I'm kind of nervous about that part of it. I don't think they quite know what is happening. Like I haven't said anything, and in all honesty, I don't even know how to approach it. Like I do want to work with the Chamber of Commerce, and I want to
Mhm.
bring out of town dollars into their sleepy town. I think that all small towns need it, and it's just like I help them, they help me, because without their support, it just makes it very hard for me to run a business. But, also you have a lot of people that want to come and be at the mortuary that don't live locally. And I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go.
Well, no, that you're totally onto the right thing. Now, who was it that we talked to that has the place in Tennessee?
Chris Sumner.
Okay, if you haven't watched that interview that we did with her, because or you can talk to her yourself, but she explained in great detail how she won everybody in this little town where she is over by using that exact, right? She said that exact same thing. I'm going to bring all this tourist money, dollars into the
Mhm.
city. And
Yes.
they responded.
And what they call it is dark tourism, and there's a whole big market around it.
Oh,
So yeah,
nice.
you and I will connect. I'm happy
Yeah,
to.
well,
Yeah.
but I mean, my point is, you need to watch, but you're on it because there's
Yeah,
a precedent for that. Really working in small towns where you're like, I'm going to bring people here. I'm going to bring money in. The people are going to be using hotels and restaurants and shops.
and bed and
And
breakfasts.
exactly,
Uh-huh.
exactly. But people really respond to that. So I think that you're totally on the right track with that. That's going to be great.
Yeah, and to Sally's
I
point, who's
hope so.
watching, said we can help spread the word too. I think just by doing things like this, people are very excited about such a unique opportunity. Now, another question I have for you before we kind of start wrapping up is,
Yeah.
what is the condition of the building? Again, because you've been in it, you're getting the keys
Mhm.
tomorrow, but you've been inside. What is the condition of the building? Because I'm wondering if people are picturing like this dusty, rundown looking place that's creepy and fun to explore, or is it more modernized? Is it a mix of the two? What does it look like in there?
It's a mix of the two. The second floor where people are like the home portion of it it's very nice. It's I don't know that I would say modern. Like the oven looks like it's from 1975, but that's okay. You know what I mean? That's not anything that bothers me, but it's pretty nice upstairs. It is temperature controlled. There's three floors. There is the second floor, the first floor, and the basement, and each floor is roughly 5,000 square feet. So there's 15,000 square feet total
Ooh,
that people will be able to run around and
big.
explore.
That is really big. I had no
Yeah.
idea it was that big. Okay, wow. And is there anything creepy in the basement, or do you even know?
There's a casket down there that's going up to the first floor. There's a few caskets. Two of them I think are cremation caskets because they're made of a very cheap wood.
Mhm.
But I believe there's two of those, and then there's a old. I was told like 1920s, but I think it's more like 1940, 50, 60 child's casket downstairs that's going to come upstairs. There's an urn display downstairs that's going to come upstairs. There's just a lot of cool stuff. Now, with that being said, the first floor is my crusty floor, and we like crusty in the paranormal business.
I
The
love it.
crustier, the better.
Right?
um, but it's not like overly dilapidated. I mean, it's safe to be in. It's just really cool. It's got a really cool vibe to it. But yeah, basement
Okay.
looks just like a basement. It's got like the old coal room in it. There was like, I guess, like coal heating or whatever. It's still got the old coal room, and it's got like the little coal car thing on rails down there.
Wow.
I thought it
Wow.
was kind of cool. Yeah.
Go on,
I
native hood.
I'm just don't know if I want to go into The
Yes, you do.
basement
Yes,
of a
you do.
haunted mortuary.
Well, and that's something I didn't think about, Tori, when we talked before for the
It's
podcast
so interesting.
is the stuff that's still in there is
Yeah.
part of the purchase. So that's
Yep.
part of your experience
Yep.
now is to have these items.
This is going to be very
You-
interesting to follow this, follow
Yeah.
you in this whole thing. I think everybody needs to be paying attention to your stuff because I think it's going to be very interesting. I think you're going to find some things that you don't know are there yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're
Yeah.
all going on this adventure together via TikTok and
I think
investigation.
that's very interesting.
And you
So
know,
you
like
talked about,
I
the
want
urn.
that. I want that. I want people to be a part of it. I am
Sure.
like I'm not a historian, but I'm a historian. Like I don't have a degree in it or anything like that, but I love history. And memorializing the dead has always been a passion of mine. I think all stories matter. Listening to legacies and just like the history, like for example, I was looking into like the funerals and lion states that took place there, and I have found like 2,700, I believe, documented funerals in lion states. And keep in mind, that's just the lion's share. That is not including like the ones that were in papers that haven't been published yet, because my research is only as good as the internet and what's on the internet. That's typically how I find my information. So you can bet there's probably a lot more than that, but that's just what I found thus far. And there's a story that I found. The Spanish flu broke out in Iola in 1918. There was a lot of funerals at the mortuary with people from the Spanish flu, sometimes several members of the same family. In I believe it was the 1920s, a couple lost their three children in 2 days, all under the age of 8, to scarlet fever. And all three of those funerals were also held at the mortuary. And those were the only three children they had. To me, like talking about them and just keeping their stories alive, because I mean, I can't imagine like the strength that it would take to have like your whole family gone, just gone. Like,
Mm,
the
yeah.
last owner, Paul Friskel, he went into partnership with another funeral home, and like towards the end of its career. But in the 1980s, he lost his two daughters and five grandchildren in a train versus car accident. That man, I don't know how he was so strong, but just keeping the memories alive of the people, and I think, when we're living day to day and, you're talking to people, like sometimes you just don't like we don't have a grasp of like the things that they've gone through or been through, and sharing stories and just keeping their memory alive is just so important to me. That was a
Well,
very long answer.
I think that's really honorable, and I think it's a very cool part of what you're planning to do, what you are doing. I think that's very, very cool, and I think that you love the history behind also the haunted places that you talk about. So that makes
Absolutely.
perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, and again, to answer Sally's question, she asked, I think I missed it, but what year was it built? 1915, I believe is what it says. And then in the
My
chat,
building.
everybody, I put the link to the Sleeper Mortuary's website.
Oh,
So if you
thank you.
click on that page, not only can you book your investigation and your stay, but you can click on that history tab and read and see some of these amazing photos that Tori has uncovered that kind of shows the history and the life of this place.
Yeah, and then go to Paranormal Tory on TikTok and follow along on this whole thing. I think it's really, really very cool. So I would like to say to Kelly that I do not think that your fear of mortuaries is irrational, because I have one too. But I think that it adds another cool layer. Now I know there's a basement. Like,
Yeah,
like it's all very interesting stuff. So
I can feel the month of October booking up fully for you already. I mean,
I hope so.
gonna happen.
I hope so too. Yeah.
So before we let you go, Tori, is there anything else you wanted to add or mention? I know we talked about where to find you on TikTok. We've shared your website. Anything else you wanted to share before we say goodbye?
I know that a lot of paranormal researchers like to do research before they go to a building. And I will say that I am always open to anything that anybody may find. And if you do find something interesting, I would love to hear it. I would love to see any evidence that you collect during your stay. I want to see it. I want to hear it. I'm just so excited. So I just know that as an owner, I'm very open to hearing what people have to say and their experiences. And I will have a journal in the mortuary that people can fill out during their tour or during their overnight that they can write their experiences in and leave it there for the people, the next people to come and to read their experiences and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, it goes back to, this is your place and your project, but it feels like a community project too
Yeah.
that you've invited everybody
Yeah.
to join you on, which I think
That's great.
so cool. Such a
Yeah.
great idea. There's a market for it. There's an interest for it. And congratulations. Tomorrow's the day
Thank
that
you.
you get the keys in your hands and you get to start this adventure, the fun part of the adventure. I know it's been a lot of work getting to this point. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, before we go, I know you said it before, but tell us again your website and the TikTok addresses.
So my website is www.sleepermortuary.weebly.com and Haunted Sleeper Mortuary on TikTok, which is the account that I'll be going live on tomorrow as we crack open the doors the first time as an owner. So I'm going to take everybody along for that. And I will be going live throughout the night periodically on that account as well. So you guys can see what we're up to. And Paranormal Tory is my other account. That's my personal account, and that just basically has my adventures for, the last several years. And then Sleeper Mortuary on Facebook. If anybody goes to the website and they have questions, there's a phone number listed on the website in several places. Mainly, it's usually towards the bottom. You can call me, you can text me any questions, or you can email sleepermortuary@gmail.com. And I look forward to seeing everybody very, very soon, for sure.
And thank you for taking part in the Phantom History podcast. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, everybody, it's about 16 minutes long. It's just our creepy newsreel talking about what Tory's experienced there, which you've heard a little bit about tonight, and some more of the history of it as well. You can visit that on phantomhistory.com under our podcast link. And
right. So to make sure that's clear, the first episode of the new season of Phantom History podcast is with Tory about the Sleeper Mortuary. It's very, very interesting. So everybody check that out on Phantom History.
We are going to stay in touch with you. We're going to follow these investigations, and we're going to have you on again.
I love it. I'm so excited. And thank you guys for having me. And thank you for the support and the love that you've given me. You guys, man, you're amazing. And thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Anytime you get nervous about everything, just think about the great, cool experiences that you're trying to create for everybody, and just focus there. That's what we do.
Yeah,
and it's
going
to be great. It's going to be great, and have a great, great time tomorrow. I'm so excited for you.
I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be here next week.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody. Happy New Year.
Bye.